I've grown up watching cartoons my whole life, but I've never had a movie that called me out so shamelessly. I'm looking at all of you who've especially been a teenager in the 2000s. What is up, Mad Beautiful World? And I finally watched Turning Red with a strong urge to talk about it. It's an insane burst of nostalgia with generational trauma. Now, as a disclaimer though, Disney as a corporation can go fuck itself, though I believe that's nothing new to anyone. Everything they market as diversity to please POC plus the LGBTQ community will always have come across as performative and money grabbing. With that being said, I'm here to support Disney's hardworking animators and employees who fight to create something refreshing and taking risk in writing stories that are mostly frowned upon. So, on to the movie. If you don't want to be spoiled, I recommend watching the movie first, then you can go back to this video. It's really, really spoilery. This may be one of my favorite art styles that Pixar has ever depicted. It gives off so much pastel, these dark tones that contrast these lightings. It has this anime aesthetic that I absolutely love, from exaggerated emotions to sparkling eyes. The cooking sequence immediately made me think of Food Wars. It was even confirmed by the director that the animation style is heavily inspired from her love for anime, including Ghibli. I can definitely see the influence. Everything just looks so adorable and hilarious. The physical comedy has made me laugh so many times, and there's so many facial expressions that easily turned into memes on Twitter. Also, the musical score is fantastic. It has such a great bop to it. Now, everyone is basically addicted to the Four Town song, which I don't know the lyrics of, so I don't want to sing it and you know put it to shame. And Canada feels like a rare setting to have in a movie, specifically an animated one. So it felt refreshing to see a new atmosphere being introduced. I may not be born and raised there, but I know a few Canadian friends who were so happy to have their home being represented in the movie. I love seeing how diverse the community in Toronto is, including people wearing hijabs and turbans. I also recognize the Timbits from Tim Hortons, and that's one of the very few things I know about. I also may not be Chinese, but I'm a Filipino who's born in Hong Kong. That is heavily multicultural, especially Chinese culture, so I liked seeing all these familiar things like the different food that I've enjoyed throughout my childhood. The Bao, especially. I'm sorry if I get that wrong. And these ancestral temples are very common as well, with their candles and the praying, but not to mention the extreme expectations Asian parents have. But more on that later. But the most integral part of the setting is that this story is illustrated in the 2000s, and I was just punched in the gut with insane nostalgia. I absolutely love how everything about a teenager in the 2000s is portrayed perfectly. That flip phone that I used to have, the tech decks, the little skateboards that I know my classmate were crazy about back then, the Tamagotchis, the silly dances to songs like Bootylicious that that came out of nowhere, threw me off in the best way possible. Having silly crushes, the cartwheeling. I definitely fell on myself a few times trying to do that. This scene where they're recording themselves bopping to the Four Town song reminds me so much about people lip syncing to the Backstreet Boys. A lot of us still do it to this day. We can't help it. You are my fire, the one desire. Okay, I'm getting off track. This is like, it's top tier cringe. I feel embarrassed, but I'm laughing at the same time. I gotta say though, the one scene that really called me out the most is where she was under the bed drawing these sexy pictures and questioning why are you drawing these? These are so embarrassing, especially if you're an artist at that age and your imagination just runs wild. Some crazy shit gets on paper. The mother's reaction is so priceless. Meanwhile, my mom was like, "Oh, okay. I see you really like drawing the gays." And behold, I realized I'm a trans gay man. It's most important to note that this movie did not also shy away from showing teenage girls being silly and weird. I didn't expect to hear the word crap, sexy, and stripper music in this movie, but then again, it's Pixar. They symbolize puberty with a panda, the way she talked about, oh god, I'm smelly, I'm hairy, I can't control my emotions, etc., etc., is accurate. And they even talk about the red puny blooming. The way the mom reacts, and then the dad feeling so awkward, afraid, even not knowing what to do is realistic, funny, and normalized. And even though I may not be a girl myself, I am assigned female at birth, so yeah, periods are fucking crazy, dude. They suck. It really makes you realize that this is rarely portrayed amongst teenage girls. It's usually the bare minimum or being blatantly sexualized. Men and purity Karens criticize this movie when they haven't even seen it or watched it without a brain. Oh my god, teenage girls going crazy over boys. Oh my god, puberty and period. Disobeying parents. This has gone too far. I mean, it is clearly intended to be teenage girls being teenage girls. That includes the wacky rebelling fantasizing and bleeding parts. Bruh, even if you're not specifically a teenage Asian girl, we've all been a teenager once. You can't pretend you've never done wacky, cringy shit. If you interpret crushing on someone or doing stupid dances to inherently sexual, you may have a problem. Just a little bit. To say finding yourself and confronting an overbearing parent is inappropriate for children is arrogant as fuck, and all parents complaining about this movie is exactly why this movie is made. It's telling you to stop glorifying purity and perfectionism. And yeah, sure, Disney movies have always been pure, including the classics that we grew up with. Also, it's extremely shallow criticism to say a movie is exhausting, quote unquote, just because it wasn't made for you. I swear to God, no one would be criticizing so harshly if it was made for white people. Whew! I've ranted about this before a lot on Twitter, but I had to say it again. By the way, the characters are just so lovable and memorable. People will know who you are talking about if you even just mention their name. I love how this girl group has different colors, different looks and color aesthetics. I love how eccentric and quirky Maylene is. It feels like almost every Asian kid had that haircut at one point, me included. Her friends are amazing in their own ways. Miriam is a big sweetheart. I love Priya's monotone and dedication to goth, and her interaction with another goth girl was very wholesome. Abby is such a loud, obnoxious, hilarious gremlin. You knew you've been each one of these girls. You know you've been one of them, or you had a friend who is. I really love Tyler. I like this whole transition where he was this annoying bully, but then becomes friends with the girls and is revealed to be a Four Town fan as well. It's usually frowned upon to be hanging out with a group of girls. As a guy, other dudes will immediately think you're a sissy or gay. It's hard to get any confirmation of LGBTQ themes in Disney slash Pixar movies because the creators are at the mercy of a corporation. But in those two scenes of Priya and Tyler, we know what it implies. Even though it's brief, we know the team was genuinely trying to represent something without getting fired. If you've watched the documentary, especially Daniel Feinberg talks about her experience of crushing on this one girl while not knowing she was gay at that young age. So there was definitely some influence brought to the movie. And yeah, it's not the main focus of the film, but I like that it's implicated that self-discovery comes from many things, including queerness. And I appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of others did. Ming is intimidating and her outbursts are funny, even though overbearing, you see how much she genuinely loves her daughter and only wants what's best. In reality, from what my mom told me at least, most Asian moms leave their daughters to deal with puberty alone. And so it was kind of refreshing to see Ming care so much when she thought Mei might be having her period. It's also common for Asian women to be like the matriarch of the family. I love Jin as this quiet, dorky dad who cooks and is also supportive. A great dad always gets me kind of choked up. The security guard that keeps kicking the mom out is so funny. But wow, when the aunties showed up on screen, I was dying because the character designs are so accurate. I swear every auntie I've come across looks exactly like them, no matter what type of Asian you are. Guys, these designs are amazing and unique in different ways. Well, let's move on to something a little more serious, which is my favorite premise in the film: generational trauma and expectations. If you know me, I love conflict in stories, especially around families. Ever since Encanto came out, I was blown away by an animated film that took a bold step in portraying something so deep, mature, and gut wrenching. And now Turning Red has done it too. Personally, I don't think there's one better than the other. I think they both did a good job in portraying said trauma in their own ways. I just think Turning Red's symbolism is way too on the nose for my liking, and at times, silliness is for overshadowing a serious message, but then again, it's meant to be more digestible to kids, you know? But it's why I prefer Encanto's complex, subtle writing more. Every time I watch Abuela's Past, it's an extremely heartbreaking narrative of how much trauma can affect that individual's self worth and relationship towards their family. I do feel that sympathy for Ming, but there could have been so much more. It felt like something was missing. I was expecting a scene about her past, her relationship with Jin, where you can see her break the temple and hurt her mom. That could have made it so much more powerful. But hey, regardless of criticism, it's really refreshing to see something so common in POC cultures being portrayed in animated movies, to not only have the protagonist confront their family member, but to also have said family member acknowledge and apologize. The negative impacts they passed on to their children is very heartfelt. Even though I usually lean more towards realistic stories and felt that the forgiveness seems kinda rushed and last minute to the end of these movies, both Turning Red and Encanto give this hope that in spite of generational trauma, the cycle can be broken, and it starts with confronting the problem and acknowledging it. I think even if you never had been affected by this sort of conflict, I think it's pretty universal that every kid, teenager, or even adult, it's hard to express how you feel to your parents, even though it feels rare. It's nice to hope more parents can learn to listen to their children, be more open minded, and be honest that growing up can be really messy. But that's okay. Like how the dad saw the recording of his daughter, May, being herself, having this heartwarming talk that being her true self makes her happy. Honestly, I feel fortunate to have a family that is supportive and honest about their experiences when they were kids, including all the mess. It was a great learning curve for my sister and I growing up. Overall, like I said in the thumbnail, this was a very fun movie. It's hilarious, it's chaotic, and it has its heartfelt moments. As a huge Pixar fan, I understand that people may not respectfully like this film because we always expect something very tear jerking and poetic. But I personally love that Pixar is trying new things with new art styles, a much more fun premise, and personal stories. If I were to choose a Pixar movie that spoke to me the most, I'll always say Soul, even though, of course, it has its major flaws. I love the subtle storytelling. Its musical score is amazing. The message and its premise is existential. and mature. It's everything I love in a story. This is a movie I would go to if I ever feel unmotivated with life in general. But if I want something fun, I'd watch Turning Red. Both things can exist, not one is better than the other. Various stories can contribute a message in their respective ways. I also admire this era where its major goal is not about reaching massive audience, but simply just to tell personal stories and hope it feels special to a good few. And I'm sure Soul, Onward, Luca, and Turning Red was special to a bunch of people. So yeah, that was Turning Red. It's definitely worth the watch. You should watch the documentary too. It was really nice to know what was going on in Domishi's thought process. And yeah, this is a whole new type of content. I've been meaning to do stuff like this where I just get to ramble nonstop. I love video essays and commentary. I just been putting it off a lot because talking can get draining for me and I don't like my voice at all. But hopefully, I'll feel less insecure as time goes by. And you even see that in community posts, I would randomly put a serious topic where people discuss about like representation and stuff, for example. So if you're interested, just leave suggestions, topics on what I should talk about next, and keep an eye on those community posts because I definitely need your words on them so I know what to talk about. Oh, and feel free to discuss in the comments of what you think about Turning Red and Pixar as a whole. But if you're going to be one of those many arrogant assholes that have been criticizing the movie, expect to be mocked. Leave a like and subscribe for more nonsense. Take care, stay fabulous. Mad Hattie, signing off for now.